At least you're eating your lunch, so we can fire away. I have been talking to a lot of people about the Blazers because I do think that the argument, and even the Oregonian, I think what's his face that does the sports in there had an editorial about the Blazers are already gone. We don't know it. So it's going to be interesting with the Moda Center. Like, is that the lure that keeps the Blazers in Portland, or do they move anyways, even if we, give money or figure out a way to bond and do all the stuff? I'm curious, do the Blazers, that's really the question there is, do the Blazers leave anyways? Are they already gone? Or two, really is, because we said we're going to build a baseball stadium and now we're going to build a basketball stadium. I'm thinking football stadium next. Maybe we have the Seahawks and the Portland Pelicans or whatever we could call ourselves.
First of all, Brian, the Portland Pelicans is actually not a bad name. I want to make that clear. I don't hate it. I think that there will be debates over the name, as there always is, but Portland Pelicans isn't terrible. Yeah. I think part of it is it's interesting to see. I think most people were not aware. I think generally, I don't even think legislators were generally aware that necessarily that we were at risk of losing the Trailblazers, and that the Moda Center hasn't been upgraded in whatever it is, 60 years, and it's actually the worst NBA venue. I don't think anybody knew that. I don't spend a lot of time at NBA games, so probably if you travel around and do a lot of NBA games, you might know that. So I think probably one of the biggest issues is they are very late to this conversation. The city of Portland is in actually making it being like, hey, actually we're in way over our heads and we need state help. So that's the first problem. I think the second problem is you have Portland kind of being a destabilized city right now, and that makes everybody nervous and want to flee. And I think that as much as the folks that are in leadership there, maybe the mayor and the one half of city council that isn't Democrat socialist, they are struggling to hold it together right now. And if I don't know what the long-term impact of the Blazers leaving is, I can't imagine it's good for Portland though. And so the hard part for me, and one of the things I've heard is the Republican argument is we don't want things to get worse in Oregon, but this only probably helps Portland, right? And so how do you help the whole rest of the state? And I think I'm interested to see that conversation sort of develop. The other side that I've heard is if the city of Portland is mismanaging the Moda Center operations side, not the Blazers, but the city of Portland running the venue, that the only thing that could possibly make that worse is adding the state as a co-owner, because we're so good at running stuff, Brian. The state is amazing at running stuff.
It seems so. Okay, yes, I agree. I think if you really, besides the fact that the city of Portland can't run the Moda Center, I'm with you there. That's kind of a no-brainer. Adding 20, what do they got? 23 city councilors. Talk about a horrible idea. Putting more people in front of a problem in that regard is not the right way to solve a solution, but let's not talk about that.
It's just like expanding county commissions. If you have 3, you don't realize how good you have it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, putting more people in there does not help the problem. So I disagree that it only helps Portland. I think it helps the whole state. I think the Trailblazers have a very long storied past with a lot of people that, are proud to be Trailblazers fans. I think there's a lot of value in that. And I think there's a lot of value in having some pride in the Trailblazers and a professional team. I think there's a lot of things there that really do help. It is an economic development driver for the state. It is an economic development driver to get people to move here, because it's kind of part of, living. It's part of, things to do, things to go, like the Thorns and, so you got the stuff, right? So the problem is that Portland is a dumpster fire. It's a shithole, and you got no businesses who will, who buys the corporate boxes? Who buys the sponsorships?
Right.
Who buys the stuff that makes that team make money so they can pay taxes and do the things that makes it all worthwhile, right? And if they're going to bond and do jock bonds and all this sort of stuff, and they're going to be able to self-bond themselves, and the state's just basically loaning the money, But who are the people that really turn the engine there? And I just don't know. With all the companies leaving Oregon, that's where I really think a company's looking at it and say, well, what corporate headquarters are here versus Nashville or versus, St. Louis or some of these other cities that have like monster companies that would probably spend millions a year in sponsorships and being part of something. That's where I really think Portland is in a pickle on this one. Oh, Portland Pickles, that'd be a great name. But
The Portland Pickles is the baseball team, isn't it?
oh, is it? Okay, maybe that's why it comes in. Can't be up. That's just
Oh
so.
no, Brian, you haven't heard of the Portland Pickles? First of all, you're gonna get emails or texts. They are. I think they were out in. Are they located in?
Hillsboro, is that Hillsboro?
I think it's the Hillsboro one.
I like the
Possibly.
Hillsboro Hops. That's a good
No,
name.
that's the
I know
Hillsboro
that.
Hops. No.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't know where the Portland Pickles play. I haven't been to the game, but they are active on social media, and you're gonna hear
Okay.
from the Portland Pickles fans.
That'd be a good name for
Um,
the team. You know that crazy like baseball kind of thing where they do where it's all like interactive now. It's like a softball game slash baseball
yeah,
game
the Savannah
in Atlanta.
Bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have the Portland Pickles versus the Savannah Bananas.
That
That's a great matchup.
That's a great
I
matchup.
would
You're
watch
totally
it.
right. Well, it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of conversation. This just got launched. I think President Wagner's bill just went live like today or whatever. I saw a press release. So it'll be interesting to see that conversation happen, see where it goes. It sounds like they're taking the same approach with funding baseball where they take the tax revenue from the players' salaries to pay the debt
Yeah.
service on the bonds. And so it's a very similar approach. It's not supposed to be it's not taxpayer subsidized in that way.
Yeah.
The general fund, we're not spending 800 million general fund for stadiums or renovations or anything like that. But
Yeah. However, I've looked at a little bit of or I've heard, maybe I shouldn't say I haven't really looked at it, but I'm talking to some of the lobbyists and stuff like that on it. I like where they're going with it. It makes sense, right? If it could be self-perpetuating bond, right? Kind of pays for itself with the economic activity of it. But here's what I have a problem with, and this has nothing to do with the Trailblazers, but why wouldn't Intel in the future or Nike come to the legislature and say, we want to expand our campus? And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the revenue that our employees generate for the state of Oregon, and we're going to take that off the table and we're going to pay for our expansion with our own employees' payroll. And we're going to bond, we're going to go get a loan from the bank, and we're just going to pay the bank back with our own employees' payroll. That's literally no different than what the Trailblazers are doing. So,
well,
but we're going to generate so much economic activity for Hillsboro and buy so many homes that this is really good for the state of Oregon, and you're just going to take it. Like, I'm worried about that.
well, so what's interesting about that is it reminds me of the 2012 legislative special session they had, the 1-day special session to do the Nike Intel bill. And
Yeah.
I cannot remember any of the specifics of that, but they met and they passed it, right? And so when your largest employers needed help in 2012, the legislature was willing to act in a bipartisan fashion. I don't think you could get that done today.
No.
I'm not even sure you could get it done with either political party, to be perfectly honest. And one of the things I think that you do set up that space, but I think that the Democrats or leadership will definitely argue that sports is unique and that's the only industry they're going to treat special from now on, which, okay. That's just, it's just a thing you say.
Yeah, I just think that the precedent of it could be, and could they get sued? I mean, could somebody sue them, say, well, you can't not sue, or I don't know. I just find it the slippery slope argument of it is just a little, whereas if you had a bunch of companies that paid, and that's usually how they did that stuff before the city came in and did it, but we'll see what happens. It's a great conversation. I'm a huge Blazer fan. I think recently they kind of suck, so it's not a lot of fun. I hear that Damian Lillard might come down and do some pitching himself for it. I think having Damian back in the fold with the Blazers is great. He should have never left. Some people have to realize when a city embraces you and takes you on, like you found a home and you should just stay there because you can really, really make a living out of it. Now, Reagan, there are a few rumors that the only reason why Chris Dudley's running for governor is to make sure that the Blazers stay in Oregon. So we should cover that rumor mill just to be safe. So
I think that it's sort of interesting that these things are happening at the same time. I think that I would be surprised if he wanted to undertake the difficulty of a governor's race just for the Trailblazers. But man, if he is, he's committed. Let me tell you,
is
he's
that why
committed.
Kotek's going to be in favor of this? Is she thinks it's a blunt against Chris Dudley's
By the way,
prowess as a former Trailblazer?
I have a hot take, and the hot take is that Dudley should keep the beard. He should have the beard for the campaign. Have you seen the bearded Dudley pictures?
Yeah.
I think it's a great look for him. I think it shows how he's evolved as a person. And he's clean shaven in his first ad so far, but there's pictures of him a little bit of December or something with a beard. Bearded Dudley.
Yeah.
I want to see it on the campaign trail. I want to see it in some ads. So, Team Dudley, if you're listening.
I like the bearded Dudley. I think goes with my beard, Reagan. I mean, you know, of course, he's got to grow one out longer like mine, and then it'd be something. So
maybe, maybe he is copying you. Maybe he is copying you, Brian. Your guys are you're both Central Oregon guys.
Yeah, you know.
All right. So what do we need to talk about next, Brian? Is it fundraising? I guess it's fundraising. See if I can find my link.
Yeah, we can spin around the fundraising. I think that's going to be a good one, and then we'll end with kind of some pros and cons of Republican walkout. But the fundraising stuff while you were looking for it is what we saw, which was the most one that stood out with from the federal fundraising, is that Republican Monique Despain outraised Val Hoyle.
Yeah, so
in the fourth quarter. Woof.
Hoyle raised 135, spent 97, and she has 386,000 cash on hand. And Monique Despain doubled her up, 309, and she spent 33,000, so she has 276. So one of the interesting things about this is that was the headline for the Oregonian, because I think that that's not an expected thing. Now,
No.
It'll be interesting to see, is that enough to put her in a position where she can now get herself on they have those, at least the House Republicans, when they had the Young Guns program, you could move through it. And if you raised $100,000, you get to be on the first level of Young Guns. And if you raised, I think it was 500, you got to be on the second level. And then once you hit $1 million cash on hand, you could be on the top level of the Young Guns. I don't even know if they run Young Guns. It's been a while. That was a McCarthy, Eric Cantor thing. It's been years. But this definitely puts her back in the conversation, in a conversation that she wasn't in before.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think I think it's great. I mean, good for her. She's been working it. I know. So a big part of that district is Senator Anderson's, district there. So she's the reports I've gotten is like every single event that's happening, you see Monique Despain. So she's working it, man. Seems like it's going to be a tough year with Trump, but money is the mother's milk of politics, so you got to have it to compete. So she's doing well. I think that the one that's really just kind of a downer for me, which is sad, is that Bynum is just raising a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she's the clear target seat for Democrats, so they have to make sure that she's running all cylinders. Same thing as it was when Dreamer had the seat, right? She was raising similar levels of cash because they knew it was going to be competitive. And I think that Patty Adair, who I think is the favorite to win that primary right now, 185 is not bad for her if this is her first quarter fundraising, which I think it is. She didn't announce that long ago.
Yeah, it's her first reporting quarter.
So she'll need to obviously continue on that and get the trajectory going up, but not, I think that's a pretty respectable number to bring in her first ever quarter of federal level fundraising. She's only ever run for county commission, never run statewide as far as I know, never run for Congress before, anything like that. So this is a good showing for her.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Patty, Commissioner Adair, she's going to work hard. She's a hard worker. She's always been a hard worker. She's been, bombing away on the phone calls and doing what she can to raise money. She's got to have a good year for Republicans to win. That was clear for, Lori Chavez Dreamer, clearly with Bynum, right? You got to have a good year. The problem with that Bynum race, though, which will is there was what two other like independent, non-affiliated workers family, they ran
Yep.
some other candidates that really, made a difference in that race that really peeled off a lot of votes. So there has to be a third party strategy coming from dark money for the Republicans to probably win that race. So I think I don't know what that strategy looks like, but I mean, they're probably saying, hey, if Patty can just raise some money and get her name ID up out there, and if you get some third party candidates that then all of a sudden dark money comes in, then yeah, there's a shot. I mean, it's an outside shot, but 1.8 million is pretty good for Bynum to have, and I think that's a good start for Patty Adair to get 190 grand or so in the bank. That's good. And she's not spending it, which is great because I hate to see some of these people, spend more than a third in what they raise. Like I said, Merkley raised 1.2 million and he spent 400 grand. And usually I don't even know what he could be spending 400 grand on. Usually it's a bunch of staff and paying off vendors. So I would imagine that's probably what he's doing when he's just dumping money. But, and then I did notice though that Cliff Bentz really just doesn't seem like he's a fundraiser. So he's really kind of just mailing it in. So that's a bummer because we need other Republicans to raise money in the state so they can give it to these other competitors, to have a shot.
Well, and I think also if you're the national Republicans, you'd like your safe seat members to be raising and transferring money
Yeah.
to your main committee, right? To help keep the majority in his case. Because the only thing, I mean, with the retirement cycling through and stuff, if they can hold the House, Bentz has the opportunity to continue to move up the food chain and start to climb to the heights of Walden, right? If that's his desire, if that's his goal. While you were talking, Brian, I did a really quick run through on cash on hand for governor's candidates. Okay. So are you ready for this? Okay. All right. So Kotek is currently sitting on 2.7 million. So that's her war chest. And I can't imagine that she's necessarily going to slow down on that point. Drazen has 1.1 cash on hand. And I didn't get a chance to look at expenditures, but my sense is she's not burning a ton of cash right now. I think she's banking it the same. Next up is Ed Deal at 154,000 cash on hand. So there's, he's the most. Is he the most recent to the race? Because he announced after Dudley, right?
No, before Dudley.
Oh, he announced before Dudley. You're right. So he's second most. And so these are going basically in order of folks as they've announced. And then Dudley's at 97,000 right now. So it'll be interesting to see if Deal and Dudley can pick up the pace to kind of start to get closer to where Drazen is at, because I think the biggest problem for them is if they can't catch or surpass her, then how are you supposed to compete with not only her money, but her already existing name ID? And I think that's basically the challenge that they have to face.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that's a slight issue for them. And I think Dudley will pick up the pace a little faster than Ed Deal. But Ed's got the grassroots thing. He's going to rely on that, but that only gets you so far because when you start dividing votes, because there's a lot of, what do we have, 14 candidates. So you start, and say if the bottom 9, but they'll take a combined 15% of the vote probably.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I was going to say, maybe 10 to 15.
Yeah, so if they maybe a point and a half each, right? So they pull all that off the table regardless. You start dividing votes pretty quickly. You got to give Drazen the edge at this point. I think clear advantage in the primary with the amount of money she has and the inherent name ID. I don't know what the poly markets have her at, Reagan. Maybe we should put her on poly market.
I'm not sure that I think on the national stuff, the poly markets may have a better pulse, but I don't know about Oregon. But I'll look at that right now while we're talking. And I also don't want to forget
the poly market. There's no way they have the poly markets for the governor's race. But if I were to do a poly market, I would put Drazen about probably a 3-1 favorite.
So the Oregon governor, Republican primary winner, Drazen 43%, Dudley 36%, Kyle Dyke at 3%, Chael Sonnen at 1%, Daniel Bethel 1%. That's the poly market. So they're pretty high on Dudley right now.
Yeah, that is interesting because they didn't even mark Ed Deal in there.
No, they haven't. And I don't know how long it takes for that kind of stuff
Yeah.
to update. And so obviously they're a little bit behind,
Probably a
but
little
they do have one. So if you want to buy shares of, if you think Drazen's locked in, you can buy shares of Drazen at 43 cents. Yes.
So
So that's not terrible.
that's better than mine. I was only giving her 3-1. They have her at 4-1. So
Yeah. So, and then
almost
Bethel
fine.
at Bethel's cash on hand, 42,000. Sorry, I missed it. I didn't
Oh,
read that off the bottom of my note. So,
yeah, that's 42 is not going to do it. You got to have, I mean, she's got to be getting into the six digits at this point. If you're not in six digits at this point, you're just not going to be able to, because a statewide mailer alone to Republicans, four Republicans, statewide mailer is probably 35 grand. So I just don't, you know what I mean? She's got enough for one mailer. So you just gotta be into the six digits at this point, and I just think it's going to be pretty tough sailing to, because it's going to get crowded at the top there. I suggest, based on projections, Drazen probably gets to 2.5 million by mid-April when it really matters.
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, 2.5 is probably a slightly high on that. And then you got to assume Dudley's going to get to seven figures and Ed's going to get to seven figures, or at least close to it. So you're going to have $4 million spent maybe by those top three candidates. And if you're only got 100 grand, you kiss your ass goodbye. There's no way you win. A poly market, I give her maybe 2%, because it's not easy to do. It's just not. I mean, money just doesn't, especially in a primary that's going to be that tight and that riveting. And with three probably well-known, well-funded candidates, if you're not in the mix fundraising wise, and the worst thing I fear for some of these other ones, even, if it, and I mostly fear for with Daniel Bethel, because you don't want to get embarrassed. That's kind of a tough one. So, and I like Daniel. I mean, she's a friend, but that would be where I would start looking at things. We've had a lot of changes in this last month with who's entered the race, and that would change my thinking on things. But
Republicans still need a strong bully candidate. All right. So final topic, Brian, and here's
yes.
the kind of, I wouldn't say it's even close to at the forefront, but the chatter, Brian, which we keep very close eye on.
Water cooler chatter.
The discussion has to be, and this isn't just among Republicans, by the way. I have a lot of lobbyists talking about, we'd like to get our work sessions done as soon as possible, get over the other side and get out of here, because they don't want to be subject to the potential for the walkouts and to be collateral damage. And so the walkout, it's still there. It's not there in the same sense of, are Republicans going to get mad enough to walk? Really, it's more about, can the Republicans properly leverage the 9 excused absences that they can take before they're banned for running for re-election? So to start, Measure 114, not 114, I'm sorry, 113?
113.
Measure 113.
114 was this gun bill. It's got a lot of people upset.
I'm sure it's going to get sorted out. The Supreme Court's going to save us.
Yeah.
Measure 113 instituted these 10 unexcused absences. And if you take 10 or more, then you are barred from running for re-election, or barred from running, we believe, probably for another legislative seat also, we believe is what the interpretation that will be taken. If that's not written anywhere yet, I suspect if somebody tried to file if you're a senator and you tried to file for one of your House seats, that you'd be banned as well. So folks are making the assumption you can't run for legislature after the 10 excused absences. So both sides have theoretically 9 to play with. Now, I don't know if anybody has accidentally burned any of theirs. I haven't been keeping close count. I'd imagine both the caucus offices on both sides of the aisle are keeping a close count. And obviously the clerks and the secretary's offices have those. So if you're Republicans and you want to do some damage on something, first of all, what's the thing? Are there things in the session even big enough to consider using your 9 absences? I guess that's where we should start, Brian. What would you walk out over? Would you walk out over a gun bill? Would you walk out over moving the vote on the gas tax?
Well, walk out or walk out and lose your job. Like those two separate things there. Would you walk out and try to like slow the Senate down or the House and negotiate what you can? That's a pretty easy call. It's a tool in our tool belt. It's kind of when you're in the super minority, it's about the only thing we got left. Because there's just not a lot of not a lot more levers we got at our disposal, Reagan.
No,
When you're in the super
true.
minority, and the biggest thing, and this is what I've been talking with lobbyists about as well, and the chatter with folks. What do Republicans have to stay for? Like, there's kind of what's the carrot that keeps us here? I don't know what that is.
I think there's a handful of Republicans maybe that are, folks who have been worked a long time here. Maybe they know the ins and outs. They have some strong relationships. Maybe they have a handful of decent bills alive. But I tend to agree with you, Brian. I don't know that there is a ton left for folks to stay and talk about. I mean, you've got,
From a bill standpoint, and
from a bill standpoint.
yeah, and the Democrat bills are not. They're not good bills. Like there's a lot of there's gun bills, there's there are abortion bills, there's decoupling from the federal tax code that takes away, the basic was a tax increase, but apparently it's not a tax increase, it's only a revenue increase, which really means it's not a 3/5 vote, which I still to this day can't figure out what that means. But it sure sounds like a tax increase. We should sue on that. But I think there's a lot of those sort of things that just don't give Republicans reason to stay either. On top of that, I think Republicans in general, there are some that don't like the idea of walking out. I'm probably one of those. I don't think, and you've been through the 23 one with us, I don't think it's helpful to walk out because I think we have the high ground right now in regards to the gas tax and the Democrats trying to move it and hoodwink, Oregonians and raise all these taxes and everything. I feel like we're in a good position. The polling that DHM gave us, that we looked at with OBI puts us in a pretty good position.
Yeah. Now, I will say today that I'm talking to a couple of folks, including at least one, pollster, that there are some folks that may think that that number isn't actually real solid. Like you couldn't run into this cycle thinking Republicans are picking up legislative seats, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I do think it may be an acknowledgement the current environment, Republicans are more unified than Democrats. Maybe that's what you take away from it right now. And I would say that that's probably true in terms of voters.
Well, but Democrats are unified behind hating Trump. That's clearly got them unified. But yeah, everything else, maybe not so much.
So, Brian, I'm just doing a basic count, and I don't know. I'm not necessarily smart enough at this moment to calculate all the ins and outs of it. But let's just say that that the bill for moving the vote comes up tomorrow. I don't think it can. I think they're a couple days behind that. Let's say it comes up tomorrow.
Monday.
Okay, let's say it comes up Monday. So you count 9 days. Because remember that as soon as you start a walkout, Democrats schedule floor every day to rack up the unexcused absences as fast as possible, right? That's what they did to us before, likely to employ the same strategy. So let's say Monday it comes up and they walk on the 16th so it doesn't get second read. Or you even wait one more day and it's third read on the 16th probably. So they're voting on the 16th, so they walk out. So you've got 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 5, 6, 7, 8. See, here I am counting on my fingers. Like takes you like the 24th, 9 days.
Yeah.
And so then you vote on the bill 24th or 25th. You go over to the House. 1, 2, 3,
It's too late.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That only takes you to Friday the 6th if you're the Republicans, both chambers.
Yeah.
Democrats still have the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th to pass whatever they can before 11:59 p.m. on Monday the 9th. If you've got both caucuses locked to walk, which, as we know, not that easy to pull off.
But Reagan, see, that doesn't work because if you're talking about just 1599,
Yeah.
the Tobias Reed came out and clearly said he has to have a governor sign the bill by February 25th. So I'm looking at the bill now. It has a work session tomorrow.
Okay.
Comes out of rules. Senate rules. So that means it gets second read Thursday
At the earliest. Sometimes they take longer to do the paperwork.
Well, they'll probably let's just say they move it as fast as they can.
Yeah.
So they go second read Thursday. I don't believe we have floor Friday.
They would add it though if they thought that this was a risk.
We're not scheduled for floor Friday.
Okay.
At this point. So let's just say again, if they don't do that, that means they can't get third read until Monday, and then your whole scenario plays out where even by the time it even gets over to the House, then it just got to go to House rules.
Yep.
Then they got to have their public hearing and their work session and back. So you're looking at, I mean, really all they got to do is walk out for like 3 days. And I think you're hitting the 25th of February.
Okay, so then the question becomes, if you're a Republican, what are the pros and cons, right? Are there any cons to walking out? Are you at risk of losing something in this session? Are you at risk of them doing something the next session to kill your bills? You still get to come back, but now they hate you.
So the con is with, let's just say we walk out on the gas tax bill and then basically the rest of the session just goes to shit, right?
Yep.
Besides the gas tax bill, I think most Republicans would rather have the live. They'd leave it on the floor. They're fine. The problem, the con with the communications on walking out to preserve a gas tax bill because we know they're making it political by putting it in May, kind of makes us make it political by putting it or keeping it in November.
Right.
Can we win that communication battle? Can we win that, comms battle with most media, probably 90% against us? Or the headlines against us, Republicans walk out again, this time on the gas tax bill. Yes, it's a little higher ground for us, but I don't like that headline.
Are they doing, Brian, on the Senate side, are they doing the thing that we're doing on the House side? Representative Bossart Davis stands up and reads the petition sheet and how the petition sheet says, I, as a voter, want this bill or the referendum number to appear on the November ballot of 2026. So that she's read that. She stood up and read that. I think she's doing it every day of floor under remonstrances. And I think that's pretty good messaging.
Yeah,
Everybody did sign a sheet that said November of 2026. It has the exact date. I don't even know when the election is, Brian. That's how engaged I am. November 3rd.
Yes, November
2026
this year. Yeah.
It's always this is the secret. If you don't know, it's not always the first Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November. So sometimes when it's later, that's because the month starts on a Tuesday. So in case you didn't know,
trivia.
In case you didn't know, yes. So
no, we're not doing that. So you guys are doing a better job over there, and the Senate is. We're just hanging out, having cigars, smoking a little whiskey, waiting for shit to happen in the House. So,
okay, but this bill, and that's the entertaining thing to me, Brian, is this bill starts in the Senate. So the Senate has to decide if they want to go first.
Yeah, Reagan, see, you're missing. This is the best part. The Senate gets to go. We just kind of try to delay, and then we'll just kick it over the House and say, well, now you guys can walk out and kill it.
So do you think that House Republicans, let's just, hypothetical here, are House Republicans maybe not super thrilled about the Senate delaying but not walking out and then having to walk out themselves? I think that, there was probably some a little bit, not a ton, but maybe a little bit among Senate Republicans in 23 that the House didn't have to walk. Now, everybody, it was clear, knew there wasn't the votes to walk at that time. I don't know if that's the same in the House today. I think some things have changed. I think folks are running for election. One may have switched parties. Yeah. It's a slightly different calculation now, but do you think that plays into it at all?
I don't know if there's any. It's a very good question. I think, I'm trying to think about the people that left. I think the only senator that I feel that is resented that he didn't run again, I bet, is Lynn Finley. I think the other ones kind of wanted to leave anyways, right? I mean, I think some of them were already kind of leaving, and the ones that stayed, and
I think that definitely contributed.
I think
100%.
that Cedric Hayden didn't mind leaving. I think that Thatcher didn't mind leaving. I think Lithicum, had the Diane play. I
Yeah.
think Robinson worked out well for him,
Yeah.
and with his dad, so that's a decent switch. Tim Knope, chief prosperity officer, that worked out well. He
I
pulled
don't
a
think that he had any clue that that was the in the cards. In fact, I
no,
think he would have told you if he walked out, there was a pretty good chance that there would be no
yeah.
job opportunities in the future.
And I think he was very principled in his walkout, and I think most of the Senate Republicans were. So no, I don't actually think there's resentment there because there was a plan and a strategy, and that we were both there. There was a plan and a strategy
Sure.
for it,
Hmm.
and I think that worked out well. Now the House Republicans, I think where they may have had resentment then, and this is where they could fix it, is I believe some of them wanted some of the glory that came with walking out because the base loved it. So I think there's definitely this is maybe their opportunity, Reagan, to have the glory of
Well, and the House has walked before. It was just over cap and trade.
yes.
And it was before the limits, and so there wasn't necessarily a automatic penalty. There might have been political penalty, but there's no automatic penalty for walking on cap and
this
trade.
is what I would do, Reagan, if I was the House, just for the first couple of days to see the bill comes over. I would be in the building, do that, and literally just not go to the floor and see how bad the Democrats really want this bill to pass so it goes in May. Like, just hang out in your office, let the sergeant at arms bar the doors,
Yeah,
see if they'll
yeah.
actually drag you down there. But this is what Ed Deal wants. I think the only thing that so here's my calculus though.
Okay.
If the Senate doesn't walk and the House does that really give Ed Deal kind of a big thumbs up in the primary? Does that
Well,
really?
that's a great question because you have Senator Drayson now. She's in the Senate.
Yeah.
And so I think that you could, I'm going to be, I want to be careful because all these folks, we want to be able to work together as a team. And I'm not necessarily trying to pick
We're just
anybody.
speculating.
But we're speculating.
Yeah.
I think if you're Senator Drazen, you do have a sense that Ed Deal could potentially message against you if you don't lead a walkout. Or at least you're aware that that's a possibility. And I think if you're Representative Deal, you also think that you can bolster your already strong cred in the base by leading a walkout. Now, here's the challenge. If you're Deal and you try to lead a walkout and you can't get a quorum denial, that probably hurts you. And so it's a high stakes move I think for both candidates. And I don't know how being either one of them, I'm not sure what I would do. Quite honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
you kind of just have to shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah. It'll be fun to report on it. And that's the best part about this governor's race is neither you and I are working for any of the candidates. So, and
we're so smart,
we can
Brian.
make that disclaimer that we're not. So therefore,
that's correct.
We can literally just and I want to try to be as fair as we possibly can in this race as far as just reporting what we see and how we see it. I think we're obviously going to editorialize based on our opinions, but I think we will definitely report, and I think fairly. I hope fairly report the way we see it.
100%. Until any one of the candidates come to me with a big fat check, which I will disclose and say, now I'm working for somebody. Happy to take it. Happy to, contribute and get paid for it. If
Reagan's got the shingle out. Reagan's got the shingle out.
I've never worked a governor's race before. It could be fun. It could also be a total nightmare.
Reagan,
but
so hard.
I'm not opposed to having the conversation, but I would 100% disclose that on the podcast if I went to work for somebody. 100%. So that's my commitment to our listeners and to any of the governor's candidates still looking to hire. Call me.
The tension is high because both these two are giving up their legislative seats to run for governor.
That's true.
So the tension is really high. So I think how this plays out could really play into the governor's race. So there is a lot of implications there. And I think that's going to be interesting. And I wonder if all of that hoopla, it'll overtake the media. And then we'll have fun talking about how does that affect Dudley? How does that affect, you know what I mean? That's going to be really fun to see how all of this plays out. And I'm liking session so far. It feels like it's been going for 3 weeks, But more to come on some Bills. We have a good one coming up we want to talk about. So let's definitely the next one we'll talk about kind of like what Bills are still alive and what kind of stuff is out there. So I think that'll be a good one, and we can talk about some specifics as well.
Yep. All right, Brian. My lunch break is over.
Yep.
And I've got a bunch of emails to reply to. I've got amendments to request. It's back to the grind.
Dude, do it. Me too.
Yeah, we'll get this one out here as soon as we can for folks, and then looking forward to some more conversations. By the way, open call. If you are somebody that wants to, you're an elected potentially that wants to come on the podcast and we've forgotten that you asked us or you want to come on, just text us. We'll happy to have you on, do a quick interview, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you want. Well, probably.
No, we will. We're going to split them up. But hey, your interview with Emerson was great. You guys had a good conversation. So
thank you.
Appreciate Rep Levy coming on, and
Absolutely.
We're going to try to do some more of those. And if it's you doing it individually or me doing it individually, so we can get more content out there and try to get through to the candidates. That's kind of our goal. So
our goal ultimately is to be bought by either Netflix or Paramount, whichever one wants to purchase us, and we'll become a part of the content machine. Absolutely. Our opening offer is 10 million.
Okay, that's good.
Would you split 10 with me, Brian? 5 and 5?
I mean, really, I think Oregon Live should. I mean, we'd be better off being a podcast in Oregon Live, I think, or
if they had any money.
Week. Like we could do we'd be part of the Oregon Journalism Project. I mean, I'd work with Nigel.
I'm willing to hear the offers. Absolutely.
All right.